I'm glad you made it into the other room. And I'm very delighted to present you our speakers of today. Please raise your arms so everyone will recognize you. John Laville, digital producer from the Scottish Symphony Orchestra from the BBC. Alex Olegnowicz from Symmetrica. And one thing I will tell you later about him. Kai Meseberg from Arte. He developed Arte Future for Arte and is big in VR and 360 degrees programs. And I'm very proud to announce him. It's Matthias Röder, the CEO of Karajan Institut. Matthias, please come here. Matthias, did you know that one of your phenomenal guests on stage was nominated for an Emmy?
Of course.
Yeah. But I think you should tell this also to the audience. So I think you have the best start with this great panel, and I'm very thankful for this conference. A big applause for Matthias Röder. And you have your own microphones on there. It's there.
Also, thank you very much, Thomas. I would like to invite to me Ruud Fletchinger from IMZ Academy. Ruud, please come on stage. You see behind us these gigantic roll-ups, and this is for a reason. With the IMZ Academy and the Karajan Music Tech Conference for a while now, we have a partnership. You made me an innovation ambassador. It's very kind of you. And the way I look at this is that we built a network here in Salzburg. And part of the network is, of course, that we invite other institutions to become our partners and to suggest content here for the stage and to have a collaboration going forward. So please help me to welcome Ruud so that we can hear a little bit about the IMZ Academy.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you very much, Matthias. Thank you for our second year of cooperation with the Karajan Music Tech Conference. I think you're pulling off a wonderful conference. That's for one. The second thing is I quickly let you know a bit about the IMZ, International Music and Media Center. The IMZ is an international business network ever since 1961, dedicated to the promotion and dissemination of music and dance in and through audiovisual media. This means that all our members are active at the intersection of music and dance, meaning performing arts, and the media. We have private and public broadcasters, we have production companies, distribution companies, we have opera houses that have their own media strategy or are developing one and have their own streaming services. We have orchestras like the Gothenburg Symphony Orchestra, for example. We have universities, filmmakers, everybody who is involved in the process of having an idea to do an audiovisual project to the very end and distributing it via the various channels. So that's the organization. Our activities, just to name but a few, because otherwise we take away too much time from this panel. We annually produce a very unique and the biggest trade fair for the performing arts film industry. It's called Avant-Premiere Music and Media Market and takes place at the same time as the Berlinale in Berlin. This is where the whole performing arts film industry meets, around 700 to 600 people. It's 4 days of exchange. It's 4 days of presenting your film projects to buyers, to sellers. It's a co-production market. It's where you pitch your projects. It's where you hear about newest trends and technologies. So this is the place to be if you're working in this kind of industry. Then another thing we do is we curate all over the world. We curate music and dance film programs for film festivals. I don't know if you know the Rathausplatz Film Festival. This is actually, the whole program you see there is coming from the IMZ. So this is also something we are very proud of. And last but not least, we have the IMZ Academy, which is one of our IMZ initiatives to promote professionalization in our sector. And, well, I give the floor to you now, and I wish you a wonderful panel. Get excited. Thank you very much. And if you want to know something more about the IMZ, this is me. I'm here until 5 o'clock. Otherwise, www.imz.at. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ruth. All right, so who of you guys was nominated for the Emmy?
I was.
Tell us in one sentence, Alex, the story.
When you don't win the Emmy, you become the biggest loser. We were nominated for Discovery Channel for doing best graphics and visual design in 2002 for a show on space adventures.
That's great. I mean, we have a very esteemed panel here. I don't want to tell you about all of their bios. I think we jump right into the discussion. Johnny, I want to start with you. You work for the National Scottish Symphony Orchestra and the BBC, right?
Yep, that's right, the BBC Scottish Symphony Orchestra.
BBC Scottish Symphony Orchestra.
Yep, that's right. We are based in Glasgow, and we are...
Take the mic a little higher.
We're based in Glasgow, and we are a radio orchestra, and we record about 75 concerts per year to deliver to BBC Radio 3. And that is our remit. Based in Glasgow, with a studio, we also record on tour and at the proms and abroad as well.
Yeah, great. Kai, maybe one sentence about what it is that you do at Arte.
Well, it's something that works in 3 languages, and that's quite great when you work at Arte. In English, it's called Mission Innovation. In French, Mission Innovation. And in German, it's Mission Innovation.
Mission Innovation.
So I'm dealing with the TV of after tomorrow. I look into all sorts of new technologies which can be important for future applications, future programs. Yeah. For internal purposes at Arte, but also for programs. Yeah. So that's new screens, interfaces, and everything related to data, machine learning, and stuff like that.
Wow, so very innovative. Alex, your company Symmetrica, what does it do?
We also record concerts all over the world. We developed a system very similar to what Johnny has with the BBC in Glasgow. Actually, I just visited him. Except that we're a traveling circus. We go with our cameras and up to 16, 20 cameras, and we record orchestras all over the world. We're based in Toronto, but we record all of North America. We've done Vienna, Estonia, and we're opening an operation here. With our system is a little bit different, and it's very much like Johnny's in that regard, that we only use 4 operators to record with all the 16 cameras and do the webcast and all of that.
So this is now already deep into the technology side of it. I wanted to ask Johnny to give us an overview of the projects that you're doing, maybe concrete examples. I believe you also have a slide prepared for this. Slides. Who has the clicker?
Fantastic.
And I'll move this. Also, there are sandwiches over there. Maybe someone can bring the tray of sandwiches to the audience because they look hungry. Thank you.
Okay, so my remit at the moment for the BBC Scottish Symphony Orchestra is to look at developing new technologies to reach new audiences and get onto new platforms. Because at the moment, our concerts are rarely featured on terrestrial television in the UK. Generally, the proms will get broadcast every year, but it's increasingly hard to get classical music onto the television. So we're trying to expand our reach by streaming to YouTube, streaming to the BBC live, and also going to BBC iPlayer. So we think by doing this, we can reach a wider audience, and hopefully, which is key, reach a younger audience, because especially in the UK, classical music audience is getting a little bit older. So we're looking at new ways to engage young audiences, particularly those under 35s. So that's kind of what we're trying to do at the moment. Want me to keep going with the... Okay.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I find interesting is, so essentially, we have a way to produce music that is informed, of course, from the historical development with large TV stations that have, all the camera operators and all of the equipment and the budget to fund this. Now, the space to actually program classical music is shrinking. Is this what's sort of driving this?
Yeah, definitely. In the UK especially, on TV, it's not really, it's not happening as much. So for us, it's definitely a focus to get online and reach those audiences which aren't getting served on classical music.
Yeah, so now you try to reach new audiences by going multi-channel. So you're going to YouTube and other platforms.
Yeah, we've streamed to YouTube, to Facebook, obviously BBC Online, which is geo-locked, which is why we go to YouTube and Facebook, and also we're looking at reaching on-demand services, like iPlayer or leaving up on YouTube. So, for example, if something is streamed live, we can then take it after the concert. We can take it away. We can fix it. We can reorder it, and then publish again on an on-demand service.
Cool. Maybe you can give us some insight on the actual technology you're using to producing these concerts. Then.
Okay, so we're using a system called QPilot, which was developed as a system to send digital cues to camera operators using iPads or phones, and basically you can pre-program a full show with your camera cues, then send these camera cues to the iPads, and then the camera operators will see what they need to do before the system cuts to it. So for the Eurovision Song Contest, for example, they can pre-program a full track with all the camera cues, all the cuts, and just press play, and the QPilot system will then run this and cut to the shots at the exact moment because it's beat matched. So that's what QPilot's developed for.
So it's beat matched, so to the music?
That is what it's developed for. And for pop music, that's fine because it's generally 4/4 tempo. For classical music, that's not really the case. A tempo can change within a couple of bars. So we've managed to do, in conjunction with QPilot, is instead of sending cues to camera operators, we're using it to send cues to PTZ cameras, and then the cameras would actually reposition.
What are these cameras?
Okay, so
not everyone is a television technician here.
So pan, tilt, zoom cameras are basically automated cameras which you can pre-program up to 50 shots or whatever, depending on the camera, and then the camera will then reposition to those pre-programmed shots for you. So basically, robotic cameras.
Wow. So. Now, earlier you said that it's harder to get classical music on the large programs, and we'll talk later on with Kai, who's working for a channel that actually programs a lot of classical music still. So we're all very grateful for that. But there's also this underlying subtopic of budgets, right? Budget restraints. Now, you mentioned that the European Song Contest, Johnny, is using this kind of technology.
Yeah.
So they for sure don't have a budget problem, do they? But
no, they don't. They don't. That's a fact. But for us, it's obviously we've got we've got constraints because we're a small orchestra. But also within the BBC, there's constraints everywhere. It's just the nature of the podcasting in the UK at the moment. So we don't have a lot of money. So using this system enables us to produce a high quality product for not a lot of money, because you're not using as many people to produce a full orchestral performance.
Yeah. I have one follow-up question, and that is when you use a system like QPilot, you said that you can pre-program it. Does this require really knowledge of computing languages, and also how much training do the people who are producing the show need to have on this new system? In other words, for the existing producers out here, for the orchestra managers that are here, how much resources do they have in order to switch to such a system?
In terms of manpower per se, well, basically, to actually run the system is quite easy, really, because it's an app, and if you have a director who has pre-programmed a full orchestral show, you basically sit down and then you put in all those shots on a timeline to each camera. Which doesn't really take a lot of skill to do that. The skill would be the director or the score reader who's coming up with the shots, but actually to use the system is simple. You add as many cameras as you need, so say you have 5 cameras, they're added. Then you would add the presets to each camera, which would have been done by the director. So to cut a long story short, I think you could probably do it with 3 people after a while, maybe even 2. It just depends on
compared to how many you normally have in a traditional production.
Well, I mean, it's how much money do you have?
Sure. Yeah.
Some pictures of.
Okay.
You should go through the deck because I will keep asking questions.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go through. I'll give you. Okay. So I suppose this slide could maybe explain what I'm trying to say. So if you want to do concerts quite a lot, you can do it. You can do it within budget and high quality, but you can't do it very often. Or you can do it within budget and you can do it often, and it won't be high quality. Or you can do it often, high quality, but you're out of budget. So this is why we're trying to use the QPilot system. Okay, so I'll just come on to this. Okay, so QPilot, as I've explained, it's used at Using Vision Song Contest. So this is the setup, and I have to say this was testing. So this room isn't normally as messy as that.
So as opposed to the huge trucks that I normally see.
Yeah, exactly. So that is basically, so that is the QPilot system in the bottom right, and then there's a monitor there. Obviously, the orchestra's playing there. So for this one, we used 4 remote cameras. We used 2 of our cameras in the hall, which are locked off. They're there all the time. We used an operated camera, which was a BBC member of staff, but that was just to add a bit of value. It's not essential. And then you've got the QPilot server and a studio switcher, which is basically cutting up your live mix. And then the two iPads. One is for the camera operator in the hall, and one is for the person that's operating the remote cameras. So this is a setup basically. So you've got the score reader, who's keeping the director in time with the score, so they know where they are at any given point. You've got the director, who's cutting up the shots on the QPilot, so they're just making sure the shots are there for them. And then you've got the camera operator, who's keeping an eye on the shots, but as the QPilot system is bringing all those shots in, all they're doing is making sure that the shots are in the right position before they get to them. For example, just tweaking things here and there. They're not having to worry about moving those cameras. So let me just move on. Okay, so this will explain it a little bit better. So this is a QPilot system in action. So I don't know how to play this. Can you guys? Okay, so you can see in the bottom right is a mixer out. So that is our show. And then we've got 8 cameras, all of them being run by QPilot. So top left is a conductor cam, that's not moving. Bottom middle is a wide camera, that's not moving. And then the PTZ cameras and the operated cameras are getting their cues from QPilot. And then the director is cutting to them when he's ready to, or when she's ready to do that. So if you watch the mixer out,
this is then the end signal. This is what the audience sees.
Sorry. Yeah, this is your final program. You'll see that once the mixer out shot changes, that camera in the top has repoed to its next shot, so it's all doing it automatically.
Like now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the whole show's pre-programmed, and these cameras are
And the operated, this is humans operating a camera?
yeah. So this is someone just pressing a button, and it's just taking that cut. So when you see the mixer out changing, someone's just taking that cut which has already been pre-programmed into the show. So see this one at the top, the French horn player. You can see it's just moving a little bit. The reason that's happening is because the camera operator in the room has had time to do that because the Q-Pilot is running the whole system. So that means you don't need a lot of skill to be a live camera operator because you've done it all in advance, and then you're just tweaking things.
So it's a combination of machine capabilities and human creativity.
Yeah, exactly. That's it, really.
Yeah, Alex, you also use a system similar to this one, no?
Yeah, I think we're going to roll back a little bit. There. Yeah, the next one, that one. You can see there, that's in Vienna, by the way, the first slide. The second one is in Toronto. So we had 2 concerts, for example, back to back, where we had one day to fly from Vienna, from the concert house back to Toronto and set everything up. So we were shooting in Vienna one day. Next day we finished, flew overnight in the morning, took the carts out, installed it, and put it back in Toronto. 16 cameras, live. Obviously we go to the internet, just like Johnny. But it's basically the same concept, the same equipment that he uses. That's where AI doesn't quite work. Two people having the same idea across the ocean, and then we meet because of you. That's the AI in here.
KI in German, KI means Karajan Institut.
That's what it is. So basically, that's it. I mean, we travel with about 600 kilos of equipment. But it's basically what Johnny's doing here. And we flew 3 people. Jacopo, who came from us to Berlin, myself, and my technical operator.
Yeah,
and
that's
that
amazing.
was it, to do the whole transmission. And if we go one slide back, the one thing that we also allow is the people at home to switch cameras.
So this is possible now too.
Yeah, I mean, we do the regular traditional concert, like, all your library at the Institute. But also we allow people at home to decide what their cut is going to be for, which works great for students, if they want to watch the violin or watch the percussion or whatnot. They can keep watching different cuts of the same show, or they can go back to the director's cut. So that is something we like for the future.
Yeah, well, this is something that I find very interesting because now the technology allows us to do new things and, have the audience participate. And in a way, it becomes a bigger event this way because people have a stake in it. They can say, oh, I can be part of it. I want to bring Kai into the discussion because Kai, you work at a company, at a broadcaster, at a cultural institution that has branched out also tremendously over the last years. How important is, from your perspective, a system that allows cultural agents like orchestras and opera houses to produce, higher quality, multi-camera shows? Is this something that is important also from your point of view?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we had a very interesting experience with the opening of the Elbphilharmonie, where we had a live stream in 360-degree video. I mean, at the opening of the Elbphilharmonie, obviously it was sold out. But with it, 360 live stream, we had 1 million or 2 million, I don't know, something like that, video views for that. So we opened up the whole concert hall to an audience from outside, and to also have a view into the new auditorium and stuff like that. So that was, I think, something like a moment to realize like what kind of power you can create while using new technology for special events, for concerts and stuff like that. So multi-camera looks and robo-cameras looks really intriguing and interesting for us.
Can you perhaps share a rough estimate or numbers, or just give us a feeling of how many users or viewers come through the traditional TV channel to these products, productions, and how many come via the new channels? Or the not so new channels, you know,
Yeah,
the social medias and so on. Because you can't watch 360 on your home TV set, can you?
Well, we did 2 prototypes with Fraunhofer and with Samsung some years ago, and it works. So you can have, when you have a connected TV, you can control the picture with your remote control, and now it's used for sports a lot. So biathlon, skiing, and Formula One, I think. Well, we don't do sports, so we still look into concerts. But we have a ratio of 80 to 20, so 80% traditional broadcast, 20% from digital. Even though you cannot really compare the numbers that much because it's a totally different metric. But we see that with Arte Concert, you know, the platform dedicated to concert and performing arts, that there's really a good demand, high demand, good development for watching concerts and different happenings and arts on stage in general. And we show that and broadcast that in the program regularly at different slots, Friday night and Sunday, I think. And then for special occasions. So for instance, we are looking into a program for next year for the anniversary of Beethoven, to do with all our partners in Europe, together a production. We have 9 partners, and by accident there are 9 Beethoven symphonies. So we will do a special day for the 21st of June to broadcast these 9 symphonies from 9 different places all over Europe, and to finish with the 9th, which is the anthem of Europe. So I'm looking really forward into that, and we will also want to try 8K together with Unitel and NHK for that production.
8K means?
Higher resolution. It intrigues us a lot because we did a lot in 4K and UHD. So we had Arte started as one of the first broadcasters with HD in 2000 something.
Back in the days.
Back in the days. And since some years we did some operas in 4K and UHD, which is a higher quality than HD. And now 8K is a bit on the horizon with NHK. We still look into it really with high interest. How you can use it? Is it maybe more subject for presenting a higher quality, or is it just something, let's say, more for the background? Yeah. So for all the IP production-based processing, stuff like that. Because there are some interesting applications you hear here and there that you can create out of a normal 2D flat video, something which is more spherical, which goes into holographic kind of content and stuff like that. So that's why it's interesting for us.
So it increases the options that you have with the content.
Yeah, you have more data, and so you have more options, and so you can really create real 3D without glasses and things like that. And that's where a lot of studies are going into, and that's interesting for us.
So Alex, I wanted to ask you, when you talk to customers, potential customers, do they come to you and say, hey, I want to have the traditional type of setting and I just want to have a high quality TV production thing? Or do they come to you and say, oh, I heard about this new thing called 360 video, do something like this as well? What's sort of the landscape like when you talk to your potential customers?
It's like everything. They come for one thing, but they want another. They come because they saw the application, but in the end, they want the traditional, same concert that Karajan recorded in 1936. And I tell them, the problem is we're addressing the audience the wrong way. We were having that discussion this morning that some venues like Netflix or the main streaming services don't want to do classical music because they think they're not going to get millions of views. But the problem is you're comparing apples and oranges. When it comes to classical music, if you give them the concert 45 minutes, yes, of course people will drop out most of the time. If you give them little pieces, we're going to give you, an encore that the pianist gave tonight, or parts of a movement, or whatnot, you get really, really, really large numbers. By the way, Christoph is here from the Berlin Philharmonic, and we designed our system based on him, but with a smaller footprint. Yeah. So they're like, you know, the standard when it comes to doing this. I don't know really their numbers. Their last numbers I saw were 2008. But for example, when we did Toronto, they hired us to do this thing. And in the end, they wanted the traditional concert broadcast. Mm-hmm. In the end, we didn't give them what they wanted. We gave them what we wanted. And we gave them at the same time 10 million viewers in 24 concerts.
Wow.
So you make the number, you look it out, and it is very profitable. Kids, everybody likes classical music. It just, you need to give it to them, you know, right way.
I always say, this event is called Karajan Music Tech Conference, and we didn't call it Karajan Classical Music Tech Conference for a reason, because when you look at Herbert von Karajan, he never said, I'm a classical music conductor. He never said, I play classical music. He said, I play music. This is the greatest music I know. This is why I do it. I think this is an important point, and I want to ask Johnny also, when you work with the orchestra, I assume there are lots of education projects and, you know, projects that go beyond the traditional concert hall. Is the system also capable of capturing that in new ways? Are you using this also to capture new types of content?
So we've got a very large learning remit and outreach remit. So we do lots of projects all over Scotland. Even in India, we've been to India and did projects with Nicola Benedetti actually, and we also go into schools quite a lot. And this system that we're using, I guess we could take it into schools, because you could actually take it into schools and get the kids to run their own classical music show with it, because it is portable, and it's so easy to program that you could do a full orchestral show or a chamber orchestra or whatever, and get the kids to actually to do it with this system. You know, that is definitely something we haven't done, but it's definitely possible.
Yeah, well, that's great. Guys, I wanna talk a little bit about the future. This is sort of like, you know, your wish list for what's going to, you know, if you were to decide what's coming next, where do you see this whole industry going? Could you all share your, you know, your hopes maybe? Let's start with Alex. I'm putting you on the spot.
Give me the heart. You know, the future is short, meaning the time span that people watch anything, television or concerts, is very reduced. So we need to give, I think, the audience, through technology or not, usually like technology is here basically to help us. We're not creating anything new, it's just giving us another tool to bring. The biggest problem is not engage the audience, but make the audience aware of what we have to offer. Mm-hmm. So for me to give smaller pieces of music and making it more everybody talks about making it more accessible, but when, for example, I was with Nicola Benedetti a few years ago, and I'm working with her right now.
It was me.
It was you. Yeah.
Sorry.
You know, one of the big things in a concert hall is you want to see the soloist big.
Yeah.
So when you go to a rock concert, you have a big screen and everybody's looking at the skill that the musician or the artist has. Why is it that we don't have that?
We have that.
I'll bet you if we go tonight to most concert halls in the world, you will not have a screen showing the hands, right?
No, but I wanted to say we have On Stage, which is a startup that you can check out in the Innovation Lab, and they put lots of cameras on the stage so that you can actually, look at what the musician does from the audience.
So that is the future, giving people what they think they want or what we think they want, not what the institution wants, because Steve Jobs said the client never knows what he wants.
Johnny.
For me, it's like I see classical music, especially in our concert hall. It's not very welcoming. To get new audiences is very difficult because people who don't know classical music, who aren't educated in it, are put off by it. And it's like Alex said earlier, everyone likes classical music. They just don't know. They just don't have a way into it. So for me, it's kind of trying to kind of in a concert hall, is trying to kind of break down those barriers and even integrate digital technology into a live performance would be great, because it would bring more people in, enhance their enjoyment of it, and also maintain that audience base, because I've had a positive experience of classical music, rather than, you go in for 45 minutes, you can't move, you can't get a drink, you can't speak, which is fine, but it's trying to kind of get away from, keep that, but also use technology to kind of to get away from it a little bit.
Thank you very much. Kai?
I really have some ideas in mind that kind of maybe there's a need for a real representation of technology and what they can do with music in terms of experiencing it. We have the experience at a concert, in a concert hall, the opera, we have music playing at home, we have these earpods, we have different kind of things. But for me, there is not really a way that we can experience, with all the opportunities we have in technology, music in a different way, to learn things about the music, to experience it a bit haptical, interactive. I saw two things recently which were quite promising. One is glasses AR from Bose, AR Bose Frame, I think called. So they have spherical sound, and the speakers are integrated. And so while you move your head, the music is changing, because you listen to the instruments in a different way. And then there's another thing, there's an app called Tonandi from Sigoros, from Iceland, which is really amazing, done with Sennheiser, Magic Leap and stuff like that.
They are also in the innovation
lab. And they're
lab,
also
yes.
here. I don't know if you have Tonandi, but that's really for me like a new experience of music, in the sense of there's something happening visually, there's something happening haptically, and the music is changing with it. You're really into a new kind of oeuvre somehow. And this is, I think, something where we could look into on the long term, because it makes music really much more something to feel, like feeling a bass in a techno club, or feeling a whole orchestra playing in a concert hall and stuff like that. This kind of feeling of music is a bit lacking, and I really wish that somehow things are happening in that kind of direction.
Yeah, this is a great way to end. Maybe I can add a little anecdote of Karajan again, who really liked to crank everything up, so that you had this huge, ambitus between very soft and very loud parts, and the engineers would always say, "We can't do this, and he always said, "Yes, it has to be done like this, because the emotion gets across much better if you have this." So for him, the technology was always to enhance the emotion. Guys, we are running, we're perfectly on time. I want to thank my panelists for a really inspiring discussion. We can have, answer questions later on during the day. Everyone is going to be at the Innovation Lab, but now let's thank my panel, and then everyone move over here so that the new people can sit, and I will come around with the sandwiches. Thank you. Aber ganz schnell, ganz schnell.